Hello everyone, I am CA Surbi Punshi, Indirect Tax Expert at ClearTax. And today we are gathered here to understand how to claim 100% ITC and what are the solution for the popular issues. But before we even start our session, I would like to ask you if you all are able to hear me or not. So you can just say hi on the chat box if you are able to hear me. Great. So it seems like everyone is able to hear me. So I think I should start the today's session. So today we are going to understand about this Rule 36.4 and the ITC eligibility. We'll also cover some part of the changes which was proposed in the budget. Then we'll understand whether we should reconcile with 2A or we should reconcile with 2B. So what form should we use while we are claiming the ITC in our GSTR 3B? What are the popular issues which are under the reconciliation and its solution? We'll cover how to ensure the vendor compliance, and at the same time we'll also know or understand how we can maximize our ITC claim, which is very important part of our today's session. So we are going to understand about that too. So with this, I am going to cover about the Rule 36.4 and ITC eligibility. So today, if we just say, as of now, we all understand that there is Rule 36.4, which was actually inserted like by notification number 49/29, which was issued on 9th October 2019. Right. So then at the other time, then it was further amended on 26th of December 29 with the notification number 75/29. Right. But the thing is, what exactly this notification talk about? What is this Rule 36.4? And we should actually understand, especially this part in detail, because this is when our entire our story of ITC starts. So when we just talk about this Rule 36.4, the government, they have kept one condition. They say that you can claim the input tax credit in respect of the invoices and the debit note only if your supplier has uploaded the corresponding document in their GSTR1. Right? If your corresponding supplier has uploaded the document in their GSTR1, which will be reflected in your GSTR2A or 2B, that ITC you can go ahead and claim ITC. But they said, okay, we understand there could be certain quarterly suppliers. We also understand that there would be chances that this supplier has not uploaded these invoices or maybe had made a delay in filing some of the document. So they say, ki, okay, in that particular case, what we are saying, you can claim at least extra 10%. So 10% you can claim as a provisional ITC, but beyond that, you cannot claim the ITC. So that is what Rule 36.4 talk about. Which means the first question which will come into our mind is it like all the document where my supply is required to upload in GST1 only that document are we talking about? Or are there also certain kind of different other document? For example, sometime our question comes in, okay, what about my import of goods? I can see that information in my 2A as well as my 2B. Do I also have to fulfill certain condition? Let's say if particular ITC is not reflecting in 2A, is it like I can't claim ITC on that? Answer would be no. So this particular Rule 36.4, it is only in respect of your purchases from the registered supplier. It is not in respect of your import of goods, because there you yourself is depositing the taxes at the custom and then going to claim the ITC. So if due to some technical reason, some of the ITC in respect of import of goods is not reflecting in your GSTR 2A, that does not mean that you cannot claim ITC. You can claim it provided you have fulfilled all other conditions of section 16. Right? Now the thing is, because here one of the important thing which usually comes into our mind is, okay, my supplier has actually uploaded a document, but they have not filed a particular return. Then can still I go ahead and claim the ITC on that or not? See, if we just go with the especially the reading, if we just do a plain reading of this Rule 36.4, it only talks about which has not been uploaded by supplier. So it is putting the restriction only in respect of those documents which has not been uploaded. It never talked about whether it was filed or not. So which means if my supplier has just uploaded the document in GST1, but that supplier has not filed GST1, ideally I can go ahead and claim the ITC on that document, right? Because that they have used the word uploaded there. So these are the certain questions which we are going to deal with. We'll understand like what all needs to be considered, what should not be considered, and should we use 2A or should we use 2B. So all of these queries we are going to solve in today's session. Now another important part. So this was about the rule 36.4, right? But the important part of important question which always comes into our mind is whether this particular thing is even written in my section, because rule can never override the section. And when we just talk about section, there's section 16 which talks about the invoices, the ITC in respect, the taxes in respect of the GST. This taxes should have been actually paid by my supplier. So that is the only condition which was written in our section 16. They never talked about that invoices has been uploaded in the GST1 of the supplier or not. So that was never there. So if I look into that, then in that particular case, I would say if my supplier has filed his GSTR 3B, and I know it's a summary section, I don't know whether they have deposited the taxes in respect of the purchases I have made from that particular supplier, or are there certain other transactions, right? So it means mere fulfilling the condition that this supplier has filed GSTR 3B, can I just go ahead and claim the ITC in my GSTR 3B? That would be the thing which will always come into our mind, right? So here the thing is, when we talk about this rule 36.4, anyhow it is not complete in its own, because they have talked about different things. They talked about the due date also, that this invoices should be uploaded by my supplier by the due date. If it is uploaded after that particular due date, then this should be claimed only in the next one. So that is what this rule 36.4 talks about. And we know that because of the COVID, government have actually issued another notification, which is notification number 13/2021, where they have given the relaxation, especially for 1 month, which is April month. So they are saying in respect of the April 2021 return period, you, even if you don't follow this rule 36.4, it is okay. You can just follow this rule 36.4 on the cumulative basis, which means you can follow after combining the April and May month together, and then look into this, whether cumulatively just check whether the ITC you are claiming, it is not more than 110% of what is actually present in 2A or 2B. So that is what this notification which was recently introduced, which talks about this part, that we have to claim the ITC on the cumulative basis. So because I told you this rule in itself is not complete, there should be some section which talks about it, because rule can never override the section. So for this, the government have come up with the changes which was proposed in the budget 2021, where in the section 16 itself, they have put one particular another subsection, which says the detail of the invoices or debit note referred to in clause A has been furnished by the supply in the statement of outward supply, and such details have been communicated to the recipient of such invoice or debit or note in the manner specified under section 37. In short, if I just summarize what exactly they are saying, that you can claim. So one of the another condition they have added, that you can claim the ITC in your GSTR 3B only if your supplier has uploaded the document in his GSTR 1, which will be automatically reflected. So when they're talking about communication, it's like which is automatically reflected in your 2A or 2B, which means the communication has been done. Then only you can go ahead and claim the ITC, right? So that is what condition, or what we can say the subsection which was added in section 16. So till now this is still not notified. So but obviously this is important if we talk about rule 36.4, because anyhow this rule 36.4 in itself will go away, because then the condition of this 10% will not be even relevant, because they himself in the section itself they have introduced that the supplier is required to upload the document in the GSTR1, which will be reflected in your 2A and 2B. Then only you can go ahead and claim the ITC. That is what this changes was proposed, and this is yet to be notified. So which means now if we just look into these two sections, basically the condition which was there in section 16 and the rule which is like rule 36.4, after combining these two, The question which is now coming into our mind is, should we use GSTR 2A or should we use GSTR 2B? Right? That is one thing which is coming, or whether we have to even follow this. Can I just go ahead and claim the ITC as per my purchase register? That would be another thing which was coming into your mind, right? So the answer over here is, see, if we talk about the legality, the complete legality, the rule 36(4) in itself is incomplete because that condition is not there in section 16. Though even in the budget they have proposed that this particular subsection need to be introduced, still it is not notified. But the problem over here is the government, the department have already started issuing the notices. So if they found certain discrepancies between your purchase register and the 2B, they have started issuing you the notices. And they ask for the like a proper interest if you have claimed extra, or they ask, okay, just reverse the ITC, which will again be another problem for you because now you have to pay the interest at the rate of 24% because you're doing some ITC reversal and it was like a wrong claim of the ITC. Right? So it's like an unnecessarily headache. It's like, okay, now you have to pay the interest on top of the ITC you have claimed. You have to also reverse your ITC. If you have to reverse your ITC, it is directly hitting your profit and loss account statement. Why? Because you have already made the payment to your vendor in respect of the GST component. So if you have already made the payment in respect to the GST component to your vendor, which means now it becomes kind of the ITC that you are going to make the payment from your own pocket, right? Not only this, on top of that, you are also paying the interest at the rate of 24%, right? Because you don't have other option. Or the second option you have, you can just go for appeal. You just ask, hey, we don't agree with you. Anyhow, whatever you're claiming is incorrect. So you can just go for the appeal. But again, here the decision is do we want to see the cost of the appeal and the obviously the lawyer fees, the appeal fees and other thing? Either we have to go with that. If we have that thing, okay, we can just go with that better and I will just get my entire ITC back. I'm not going to pay them any interest. That's one option. Or you may say, okay, I just don't want to go into all of this litigation. Better I will not either claim the ITC if it is not reflected in my 2 and 2B, and correspondingly I can just stop the payment. I will just ask or make sure that this payment is not made to my vendors, and I will just make this payment to the vendor only if this has been uploaded in the 2A or 2B. If it is not reflecting there, I'm not going to make the payment. So that could be the hard decision you may take it. But again, it depends from business to business because sometimes what happens, you cannot stop the payment because of some mutual benefits, or sometimes it also happens like it's a MSME and all, and you know that within 45 days we have to make payment. So there are certain other things also you have to keep in your mind. So you have to just think, okay, if I can't stop the payment, do I have to even stop the business with that particular client or not? So all of the decisions are always in our hand, and we have to think wisely what exactly we have to do in that particular case. But still, our question, okay, now we talked about it. If we just look into this, which means if we don't want to go into the entire litigation and all, then better we reconcile with 2A or 2B, right? That's the answer over there, because we know that for that there would be another fees. And not only this, there are high chances, because the government have already proposed that this is the particular condition which I am going to put in section number 16. And also there's a rule 36(4) which is already in place from 2019. So there are high chances that whenever the government notify this particular subsection, they may even do it as a retrospective impact, which means they may say that this particular section 16 also I'm going to put it from October 2019 only, when this rule 36 was there. So this is high, there's a high chances. People may say, oh, why should I do that? Like now, why you have done the retrospective amendment? Then they may say, see, this is anyhow to just make sure this rule 36(4) is valid. Because as I told you, the rule can never override the act, right? So which means there are high possibility that whenever this section, the subsection notify, it can have the retrospective impact. So it's always good that today itself we look into, we reconcile our document properly, and then make sure that we are claiming ITC only if it is present in my 2A or 2B. Even don't look into the extra 10% condition. better just don't make the payment to the vendor if you don't want to hit your profit and loss account directly. So that could be one of the suggestion. But again, I would say this again depends from business to business, and it all is on you that what you want to do exactly. But still, other thing was, okay, now I understood that yes, I have to do the reconciliation, which means now I'm going to reconcile my books of account with maybe 2A or 2B, and then only I'm going to claim the ITC in my GSTR 3B. But the question again which will come into our mind is, should I use 2A or should I use 2B? But before even deciding whether I should use 2A or 2B, we should first understand what exactly is present in 2A and what are the information which is there in 2B. What is the difference between these two? And when I actually get the 2A information or when I actually get the 2B information? Because this is something which is again very important. Right? So when we just talk about GSTR 2A. So this GSTR 2A, this is like whatever your suppliers upload in their GSTR 1, automatically that information will come and sit in your GSTR 2A. Right? So here, if I'm saying, let's say I am a supplier, I am supplier A, there is one the company, let's say ABC Limited. ABC Limited purchase something from me, let's say I'm Surbi, right? I am a vendor. I supply something to ABC Limited. And when they just purchase something from me, in that particular case, what will happen? If they have purchased something, so here, since they have purchased something from me, so now I become a vendor at that person ABC Limited, they become the recipient, right? So here, once I upload a document in my GSTR 1, this information will be reflected in the recipient ka GSTR 2A, which is ABC Limited ka GSTR 2A. So assume that I sold something on 1st April 2021. And now there could be different scenarios here. Let's say if me as a Surbhi, I'm into a business where my turnover is less than let's say ki more than 50 crore rupees. If my turnover is more than 50 crore rupees, in that particular case, e-invoicing is applicable, and I am required to generate the IRN number on the daily basis. I generated the IRN number. I generated, let's say, on the same day, on 1st April 2021, I have generated the IRN number. If I have generated the IRN number on 1st April 2021, automatically this document will be reflected in my GSTR 1 on T+2 basis, which means maximum by 3rd, I will be able to see this document in my GSTR 1. And if I see this information in my GSTR 1, this information will also be reflected in the corresponding recipient, which is on by like especially by 3rd April, this recipient, he will be able to see this particular document in his GSTR 2A. Right? So which means now when this recipient looks into the April return period ka GSTR 2A, they will be able to see this invoice. There could be a second case. When I'm saying when I'm talking about the second case, in the second case, I am not liable for generating the IRN number. Invoice is not even applicable to me. In that particular case, I have an option that I can go ahead and upload the document on 1st April itself. That option is already there. Or maybe I don't want to do this on daily basis. I'm going to prepare my return only after the month is ended. Which means, let's say, because the due date, let's say, is 11th, I have uploaded all the document in on 10th of May. So on 10th May, when I uploaded the document, all this document will be reflected in the recipient GSTR 2A in the month of April. Right? That is the normal case. I am a compliant person and I'm actually filing all the returns on time. So which means whenever me as a supplier upload certain document in GSTR 1, whatever the return period I had selected for uploading that document in my GSTR 1, automatically that document will be reflected in the recipient ka GSTR 2A in the same return period. I selected April as a return period. I filed, let's say, maybe I would have uploaded maybe on 3rd, I would have uploaded on 10th or maybe 11th. That doesn't matter. Whatever the return period I have selected while uploading a document, the same return period will be reflected in the recipient ka GSTR 2A. So whenever this recipient, they download the April ka GSTR 2A of the April return period, they will be able to see this document in their GSTR 2A. Second important thing, I am not a compliant supplier now. Assume I am not a compliant supplier. I filed the return after the due date. Assume the due date is for the month of April. I know there is an extension because of the COVID and there are various extension. But assume the due date for the particular month, which is April 2021, is 11th of May. There is no extension. Assume that's the due date. Now, if me as a supplier, I upload this particular invoice, again let's say INV1, I have uploaded in the return period April, but I uploaded this document on, let's say, 11th on 12th of May, after the due date, or maybe let's say on 15th of May. So on 15th May, I have now actually uploaded this document, which means I have delayed in filing my return. So after uploading, I have also filed my return now, right? So I filed my return for the month of April 2021 on 15th of May. That is what I have done. The return period I have selected over here is again same, which is April 2021. The invoice date was 1st April. The return period I selected was April 2021, but I have delayed in filing the return. And I filed on 15th of May 2021, which is after the due date. Right? So this is the second scenario. In this particular case, again, if the recipient downloads your GSTR 2A for the month of April 2021, this recipient will be able to see this particular invoice in the April 2021 return period itself. It is just like if he tries to download this particular GSTR 2A on, let's say, 11th, then this person will not be able to see this invoice because I have not even uploaded or filed the return. But if this recipient tries to download their GSTR 2A on maybe 15th or 16th, in that particular case, the recipient will be able to see the information in his GSTR 2A for the return period April. Because me as a supplier, I have uploaded this document in the GSTR 1 for the month of April 2021. Right? Till now, we are all clear. Is there any confusion till now, especially when we talk about GSTR 2A part? You all can type on the chat box. Okay, now I'm a little confused. People are saying no. Is it clear? It is not clear. Okay, great. So everyone says yes, it's clear. So now the other important part. So we talked about whatever I have uploaded in GSTR 1, the other party will be able to see in their GSTR 2A. Right? Now, similarly, if there are some, let's say, non-resident who has taken the registration as a non-resident or a casual taxable person, if they also upload the document in GSTR 1, automatically this document will also be reflected in the corresponding recipient ka GSTR 2A. Similarly, if there is an ISD, there is a head office, if they file their GSTR 6, whatever the documents they upload in their GSTR 6, automatically this information will be reflected in the recipient ka GSTR 2A. In the same way, if there is an e-commerce operator and if there is an e-commerce supplier who is supplying through this e-commerce operator, for example, e-commerce operator like Flipkart, Amazon, example, if I am trying to, I am actually dealing with this e-commerce platform, I am selling in this platform. So in that particular case, they also collect some taxes from me, which is known as TCS at the rate of 1%. So whenever now they file GSTR 8, the e-commerce operator files their GSTR 8, so they also have to show that what was the amount of the TCS they have collected. So this information will also be reflected in my GSTR 2A, so that I can look into that, and accordingly in the TDS TCS credit, I can just accept it, and if I accept it, it will hit my electronic cash ledger. So I will get some balances there, which I can utilize while I'm like paying my GST liability in my 3. Then in the same way, there is GSTR 7. So if I'm dealing with some PSUs and all, and they have deducted, so they have actually deducted some TDS, in that particular case, again, they are required to file GSTR 7. So if they file the GSTR 7, in that particular case, while they file GSTR 7, all such information will be there in my GSTR 2A also. So I will be able to see that what was the TDS amount which was deducted in my name. Right? So all such information is there. Along with this, now there are certain information in respect of import of goods also. So if I have imported some goods from outside India or maybe from SEZ unit, there I'm liable to pay the taxes at the custom authority. So if I pay some taxes at the custom authority, that particular information, once I file my bill of entry, all this information will also be reflected in my GSTR 2A. Right? So I can see that information again in my GSTR 2A. Now the thing is, now till now we understand in GSTR 2A we get all the document which has been uploaded by my supplier in their GSTR 1 or maybe 5 or 6 or 7 or 8, or and obviously when I'm saying 8 and all, it is not supplier but it's just a platform through whom I'm actually dealing, right? And also the information in respect of import of goods which I have paid at the iSCAPE department. So the question is, what is the difference between 2A and 2B? Or maybe before that we should actually understand what exactly is 2B then. Again, we talked about whatever the document has been uploaded by the supplier in their GSTR 1 will be reflected in the corresponding GSTR 2. That is what we talked about. Which means even if I have just uploaded but I have not filed the return, still that document will be appearing in my GSTR 2A. Right? No problem there. But now when we just talk about 2B, that is not the case. Right? So there is a big gap here, and that is what we have to understand. Now when we just talk about 2B, 2B says ki, hey, it is also similar, like whatever the document has been uploaded by your supplier in GSTR 1 or maybe in GSTR 5 or maybe in GSTR 6, or maybe there is some entry in relation to import of goods which you have done from the maybe from outside India or from SEZ unit. All such information will come in GSTR 2B. There is no doubt in that. Just the difference over here is that 2B, it is basis the GSTR 1 filing date of the supplier. Rather, when we look into GSTR 2A, that was basis the return period which was selected by my supplier while they were uploading that document. That's like one of the bigger thing. I will just repeat this part because this is little technical over here. Here, when I just talk about, let's say in the same example, the initial example which I talked about, what I said, in the April return period, or like let's say invoice dated April, I filed my return on time. I was a compliant supplier and I filed my return on, let's say, 10th of May. If I have filed my return on 10th of May, then when I download my GSTR 2B for the return period April, then I will be able to see this document in my GSTR 2B. Why? Because this was filed on time, so which means this document will come in my GSTR 2B also for the same return period. But now let's talk about the second example. Second example, I was saying that I'm a non-compliant supplier. If I am a non-compliant supplier, which means I have filed my return on 15th of May. So if I have filed on 15th May, which means I have filed after the due date. So in this particular case, if you tries to download your GSTR 2B for the month of April, you will not be able to see this document. So this document will be reflected because I said 2B is always basis the supplier ka GSTR 1 filing date. So here, because it was filed after the due date, so this document will not form part of my GSTR 2B for the month of April. Rather, this document will go in the next month, which is the May month. So when you download your May ka 2B, then you will be able to see the document. So that's the one big difference between 2A and 2B. Second important point is, so let's better go to the difference, especially the slide where I will talk about the differences. Second important point is, as I told you, that 2A. This is something when I upload some document in GSTR 1, automatically that document will be reflected in the corresponding GSTR 2A. Corresponding 2A. But that's not the case in respect of GSTR 2B. Which means when we talk about GSTR 2B, this you can download only after one specified date. What does that mean? So if I was saying, let's say I want to download the 2B for the month of April 2021, so I will be able to download only after a particular date, which is 13th. So only after 13th of May, I will be able to download 2B, which means on 14th May, I will be able to download my 2B. Why they have chosen this date as 13th? Because the due date for uploading the document in the IFF, which is like a scheme for the quarterly filers, where they can upload the document, the B2B document. So that is 13th. That's the reason on 14th our 2B gets generated, where I can see the document which has been uploaded by my supplier either in their GST1 or maybe using the IFF facility. Right. So for the month of April 2021, I will be able to see the document only after 13th of May. So here, just one note, I am just assuming the due date was actually this only. The IFF due date was 13, and assume that your GST1 ka due date is 11. But now we also know because of COVID, the government have already extended certain due dates. So the IFF due date has been extended till 28th of May. That's the reason for, especially for the April 2021 return period, you will be able to get this to be only after 28th, which is 29th of May. So that is just one thing we should remember, because here the date got extended. But in general, if we talk about, if assume like this due date were not extended, in that particular case, you get your 2B on 14th of next month, right? So this is one important point, which means you don't get the information every time. You get this information only after a particular date. But when it comes to 2A, you will get this information on real-time basis, which means whenever the supplier uploads a document in the GSTR1, you will be able to see this information in the corresponding your GSTR 2A for that particular return period. So your GSTR 2A is a dynamic thing which keeps on changing, because as I told you, let's say in this particular, where one time I was a compliant and the other time I was a non-compliant supplier. So this will keep on changing. If I download, let's say on 12th or maybe 12th of May, in that particular, I was able to see one document, and then I uploaded one another document, let's say on 14th May. Then again for the month of April itself, I will be able to now see two documents. But that's not the case in case of 2B. Similarly, when we talk about frequency, 2A, it is mainly like available on daily or monthly basis, but 2B, it is only on monthly basis or quarterly basis also. So for quarterly filers, they have also enabled gesture 2B, which they can see on a quarterly basis also. Then we talk about source of information. Usually the source of information are same for both 2A and 2B, which means the supplier 1, 5, 6, 7, 8 or ISGate information. All such information is there both in 2A as well as in 2B. The other important point over here is, when we look into the 2A, they never give you a breakup of ITC eligibility, or we can talk about whether the ITC is available or not. But that breakup is actually provided in 2B. Now question is like, how would government know whether the ITC is available to me or not? One simple example, if the place of supply which is mentioned by the supplier is not matching with your state, in that particular case, you will not be able to claim ITC. So that will come under the ITC ineligible. Similarly, you could also see that if the document has been uploaded by your supplier after like September ka return period, let's say for 1920 ka, they have filed after September 2020 return period, then again that particular, you won't be able to claim ITC on such document. So that will also be considered as an ineligible ITC when you look into your GSTR 2B. So this is certain examples where they put that as a ineligible ITC in 2B, but such breakups are not present in your GSTR 2B. Then, as I told you, 2A, this is basis the supplier ka return period. But when we talk about 2B, it is basis the supplier ka filing date. Again, the next part was amendment handling. When we talk about amendment handling, in GSTR 2A, you will be able to see both the original document as well as the amended document. Just for example, let's say there was a supplier who filed a return for the month of March, right? There was one invoice which was 1st March 2021. And me as a supplier has uploaded the document also in the March return period. Once I have uploaded this document in the March return period, now what happened? This document correspondingly reflects in the recipient ka GSTR 2A, right? Let's say the total ITC amount was 1 lakh rupees. But at the later stage, I realized that I am not, so this actually the amount which I mentioned was 1 lakh. Actually, it was not 1 lakh, it was 1,20,000. I made a mistake while I was filing. In that particular case, I can always amend my return, which means when I'm saying amendment return, actually we cannot amend or revise our return. We can just amend a particular document in the next return period. So what I have done in the month of April, I have chosen, okay, this was the original invoice date, this was the original invoice number. The value, the new value is now 1,20,000. I have done that. And since I have uploaded the amended document in the month of April, so this document will also be reflected in my recipient ka GST 2A for the month of April, right? Now this recipient will be able to see this amended document. So here, if in case, let's say now the supplier, so this recipient looks into the both March and April return period. So in March, this recipient will be able to see a B2B document with 1 lakh rupees, and in the month of April, they will be able to see a B2B document with the 1,20,000 rupees as an amount. Right, so that is how it is shown. Amendments cases are shown in 2A. But when we talk about GSTR 2B, the government also create a small summary for us. So when they create a small summary which talks about ITC available, ITC ineligible, and all that thing, there what they do in 2B, they will just take the differential amount, which means in the month of when we talk, let's say it was compliant case, in the month of March they will take 1 lakh rupees, and when we talk about May month, they will only take the differential amount, which is 1,20,000 minus 1 lakh rupees, which means only 20,000 in the summary which they have computed in GSTR 2B form. So that's the difference between, or that is how these amendments are handled when we look into our 2A or 2B. Right? Now the next important point is about the format. So in 2A, you get the format which is a supplier wise detail as well as a document level information. In 2B, they give you 3B level information so that you can easily fill your GSTR 3B. They also give you a supplier level information. They also give you a document level information. Now, when we talk about from when it was actually present, 2A is actually present from 1st July 2017. But when we talk about GST 2B, it is present from July 2020 return period onwards. Right? So this is only from July 2020. But when we talk about 2A, that was applicable from actually available from 1st July 2017 itself. Right, so we have discussed how these amendments are dealt in 2B. And when we talk about credit debit note also, when they create the GSTR 3B summary, they show the credit note as an ITC reversal. That is how they show when it comes to credit. Right? So in case any one of you want to take a demo, a trial of ClearTax GST solution, which where we talked about this reconciliation and also the maximize your ITs and all, you can just fill in the form which has been circulated on the chat box so that our team can reach out to you and can give you the live demo that how you can automate all such process like without any manual intervention. But now you would be wondering, because we just talked about what exactly is your 2A. We also talked about what exactly is the 2B. But you will be like, okay, I understood what is 2B, or I understood what is 2A, but should I use 2A or should I use 2B? That is still unclear, right? Because that is one of the important questions which is still there in our mind. So here, just to tell you, and also just one point I want to add you, because in the rule 36.4, we talked about the 10% limit. So the 10% limit is also further reduced to just 5%. So at present, the limit, the maximum ITC which you can claim is only 105% of whatever is present in your GST or 2A or 2B. So that is one thing we should keep in our mind. Now, when I'm just talking about the second important point over here was, should I use my 2A or 2B? See, one important point, as I told you, this 2B will be available to you only after 13th, which means it's available on 14th. We know in general you are required to file your GST 3B by 20th of the next month. And sometimes it is very difficult for us to reconcile everything only within the span of the 6 days. Right, but yeah, so since government is auto filling the ITC in GSTR 3B basis 2B, and also the notices which government is actually giving you is also basis the differences between 2B and 3B, so we should actually reconcile between 3B and 2B and accordingly claim the ITC in our GSTR 3B. But since this particular 2B is present only after 14, and we should make sure that our suppliers are compliant and they are uploading the invoices on time, and should I even block their payment or not, should I just stop their ITC component payment or not, here you should actually use your GSTR 2A, because GSTR 2A you will be able to see on the real time basis. You don't have to stop till 14, you don't have to wait till 14. So in general, you reconcile basis your 2A. Make sure your suppliers upload the document within the time so that you don't lose on your ITC. But while you're claiming the ITC in 3B, you can just use 2B, which means you should do the mixture, which is mixture of your 2 and 2B, and then go ahead and claim the ITC. So that is what we recommend. I will tell you how we can do that in like a simple step rather than complicating things. So we are going to discuss on all of such part. Right. So, but for that part, before going to that part, I think I am getting a lot of query in respect of we can share the PPT or maybe the video. So don't worry about it. So we will be sharing both the PPT as well as the recording for today's session over your mail ID. So you just don't have to worry about it. So that is one thing, because I was looking into the chat and I think there are a lot of such comments, especially in respect of the sharing PPT and the recording. And also one important point, we will also be covering the live Q&A in the last part. So before that, we just look into the practical issues in the reconciliation and its solution. So that is our next part. See, whenever we talk about the practical solutions, right? So if we talk about the practical solution, the important part is what actually hinders our ITC. See, if our supplier, if let's say today I have a supplier, I have let's say maybe I have let's say 200 suppliers. I'm dealing with 200 supplier. If some of the supplier they have actually not filed their GST 1 and they have not even filed their GST 3B. In that particular case, if I have actually claimed the ITC on that particular document, there are high chances that I will receive the notice and I have to reverse that ITC along with paying the interest on that part. Right, which means it will directly impact my profit and loss account. Right, that's one thing. Second important problem which I could face was, let's say they are a supplier but they are actually filing the return. There's no problem in filing, they are actually filing. It's just like they are delaying in filing, which means for the month of April they have actually filed in maybe July, or there was certain quarterly filer but they were not utilizing the facility which is IFF facility, and they are only filing at the time they're actually filing their GST 1, which means I was not able, but me as a monthly filer and I have to file my GSTR 3B on monthly basis, I am not able to see this document on the same month. In all such cases, when we just talk about such particular cases, in this particular case, what happens, our working capital also gets stuck. Because let's say if I have decided that I'm not going to claim the ITC, in this particular case, what will happen if I have decided, okay, I don't have to claim the ITC, then since let's say April ka document, this particular supplier they have uploaded in the month of July, which means for 3 months I was not able to claim ITC at all. So here I am going to make the payment from my own pocket because I have my liability. I have not utilized this ITC for paying off my liability, so I have to make the payment in cash. So ultimately my working capital is stuck. If let's say I use the CC limit, which means if I'm paying 12% interest on that, so my 12% on that particular amount for 3 months is now gone. That is what actually happens, right? So ultimately my working capital is stuck even if my supplier are delaying in making the payment. So that's like the another problem. Other problems could be key, okay, I have to make sure maybe today if my supplier has not uploaded, but they might have uploaded after 3 months or 4 months. How would I make sure, okay, earlier I'm not claiming ITC, but now I'm claiming ITC? Or maybe there could be a case earlier I have claimed certain ITC, or today I want to reverse that ITC. How can I can track all such invoices? How would I know that in GSTR 3B where I'm just filling a summary information, what are the documents behind that? because tomorrow if I have to file my GSTR 99Z, or even if the tomorrow like department decided, okay, I'm going to issue a notice to you, and I have to tell them, okay, see, whatever the ITC I have claimed is genuine, and I have a proper document against the same. So to prove all such thing, you have to be ready today itself, which means you have to reconcile properly with the 2A and 2B. Make sure you have a system in place where whatever the ITC you are claiming in 3B, you have a document behind it. You know that this was the document against which I have claimed the ITC in my GSTR 3B. Or even if you have done some reversals, you should have a proper document with you. So there should be proper invoice tracking, because sometimes what happens, your supplier, they might have uploaded some document maybe for a month of April in July. So whether you have claimed in April or you July, how would you tell that, right? So maybe because in purchase register it was there in April, but you have actually claimed in the month of July. So you should know all such things. So here, if you can track all such document, that will be like a great thing for you. Similarly, if your certain supplier has not uploaded document, so it is important if you can even track them. You can remind them, hey, this document is still not uploaded. Can you please upload it so that I can go ahead and claim ITC? So all of that is also required. And here you would also need to download the multi-month 2A or 2B. So you cannot rely only on a single month 2A or 2B and then just reconcile. You also have to look into some previous month ka document, and if you have carry forward, let's say there was one document present in my 2A, but I cannot claim ITC because I haven't received the goods or services today. There are possibility, because many times it happened that maybe 31st March May the my supplier has issued an invoice, but this is also present in my March month ka 2A, but since I have received the goods only in the month of April, so I cannot claim ITC because I am not fulfilling one of the condition in section 16. So you have to carry forward. You have to make sure, okay, next month I have to claim, but you have to remember that yes, I have to claim that particular document in the next month. So all of this is actually possible where we have bought up, which is an advanced reconciliation tool, where it's again faster, it's intelligent, it will make sure how much IT is to be claimed and how much not to be claimed, where you can download your multi-month 2A and 2B in a single click. You can track your vendor, you can communicate with them, you can even track your documents. And what is the ITC which you have to actually claim in 3B, that is also automated. Not only this, you can also look into the trail. As I told you, the document trail is always important. So you can even look into the document trail that this is the ITC which I have claimed in 3B and this is the corresponding document against the same. So all of these things are possible. So you can even like check out the ClearText reconciliation tool where all such functionalities are always already present. And if you have a centralized system where you are managing for all the GST, then we also have a vendor pan level reconciliation, because sometimes what happens, your supplier might have made a mistake that instead of putting a GST, your own GST for let's say 29 Karnataka, they have made a 27 ka GST because they are dealing with both of your GST. So it is not matching at a GST level, but there are chances that it get matched at pan level. So if that's the case, then you can actually ask your supplier to amend the document. So you can actually use our pan level reconciliation also, so that all such document can be shown to you and you will be able to reconcile it in a better way. Right? So now the important point which I was talking about, which was maximize your ITC. How can you maximize? See, first part obviously is if there is certain document which is missing in your GSTR 2A, which means your supplier has not filed it. Here, you can actually play over there. You can remind, you should have a automated reminders to your supplier so that they can upload the document in the corresponding GSTR 1. And once they do, you should also get an automated mail. Okay, now this has been done. Now you can go ahead and claim ITC. There should be a way, if there are supplier who is delaying, you make sure that you have also stopping their payments unless they actually file it, so that it does not impact your working capital. There should also be a case, and this is practically we have seen that many times this actually happens, that the supplier has actually not uploaded the document. That's the reason you are not able to claim ITC. So this is how you can actually help in impacting without even impacting your profit and loss account in respect of the ITC which was not uploaded by your supplier. Second, if they are delaying in filing, then you can also regulate that part. Sometimes what happens, you also see some certain document which is actually missing in your purchase register. You have not recorded. And we have seen there are certain cases where it is just because the bank payments. So bank, they have deducted some of your TDS and it was for the business purpose. But since you don't receive a proper invoice from the bank, though it is missing in PR, but this still was your eligible ITC, but you have not claimed it. So you can even increase on that part and go ahead and claim your ITC there also, right? So so this is how you can actually maximize your ITC, where you can remind your vendor on time, and you can just block their payment unless they upload the document in their GST1, or also regulating that whatever the ITC you are claiming in your GST3B, do you have a proper audit trail or not? You are not claiming unnecessarily ITC, which can result in the interest payment. Not only this, are there any missing in PR also where you forgot to record the proper invoices, or is it like you are not getting invoices but you want to record that properly? So all of such things can be done at one go, where you don't have to do it manually. There is a one system which can do everything for you. And if you want to actually get a detailed demo for that, then you can just fill in the form which has been circulated on the chat box so that our team can reach out to you. So now is the time for the live Q&A session. So you can just post your queries on the chat box so that I can take that up. One question I'm getting from Murugan, who is saying in GST 2B, we are not getting the duty payment, which is IGST ITC. What is the solution for that? So, Murugan, in that particular case, if you know that you have actually made the payment at the custom, you have also received the good, which means you have fulfilled all the conditions of your section 16, you can just go ahead and claim the ITC in your GST 2B. And irrespective that it is not coming in your 2B or not reflecting, you can just raise a query to the GSTN, but you can still go ahead and claim the ITC. Other question I'm getting from Harshit, who is getting, but there's a time gap of 1-2 days when IFF filed their return. So when IFF filed their return on 30th, that is not showing it. Okay, so Harshit, since the due date for uploading the document in the IFF is 13, so here whatever the document which is uploaded by the suppliers in the IFF, this automatically gets reflected in the GST 2B of the same month. Other questions from Lata, who is asking, is HSN-wide summary is mandatory in GST1? So Lata, there is a recent notification. So from 1st April 2021, the government have come up with that if your turnover is more than 5 crore, then you are required to compulsory show the 6-digit HSN code. And if your turnover is up to 5 crore, in that particular case, you are required to show at least 4-digit HSN code. And for B2C, it is optional. It's on you if you want to put or not. So that is how we have to make our HSN summary while we are filing GST1. So in short, if I just say, if your turnover is more than 5 crore, then yes, this HSN summary becomes mandatory for you. But if you have turnover less than 5 crore and you're dealing only with B2C, in that particular case, this HSN summary will become optional for you. Another question from Suresh, who is asking, can we change the HSN code in next month return? So, Suresh, if you ask me as of today, there's no option to amend the HSN summary. So you won't be able to change the HSN. Another question from Kamal Kushore, who is asking whether we can make amendment later to change in GSTN. Yes, Kamal, there is an option where you can even amend the supplier ka, sorry, yeah, where you can actually amend the customer ka GSTN number. Other questions from Prachi, who is asking, can we use credit if vendor file return after cutoff, that is September? Prachi, okay, so this is little technical. If you ask me in general, if they have filed after September return period, then technically no, you cannot. Which means if I am assuming the 2021 ka, you are saying like after September 21. So if it has been filed after due date of your September return period, then technically no, you cannot. Today also, but we still say you should go ahead and claim the ITC, because there could be certain amendment which government is going to do where you will be able to claim the ITC even it was filed by your supplier after September, because it is something the government is getting the payment and at the other say they are saying they are not going to give you the credit, so that is constitutionally not correct. So we still suggest that you should go ahead and claim ITC, but if you ask me in general, as per the law, you cannot claim the ITC in that particular case. Another question is from Prasad, who is asking, can how to claim ITC of quarterly vendors. So Prasad, here since government have already come up with a facility which is known as IFF, you should just request your quarterly vendors to upload the document using this IFF facility, so that you can also get the ITC in the same month, and you can accordingly go ahead and claim the ITC in your GSTR 3B. Another question is from Sneha, who is asking which ITC allowed for 3B, 2A or 2B. So Sneha, today as of now, that is like it's like 2A and 2B. Both are is kind of just helping you out. It's not like you have to use 2A or you should use 2B. You can use any of them. It's just कि government autofill your GST 3B basis 2B, and also the notices which they are giving is also basis 2B only. And since 2B is also a static document, it will not change. Whereas 2A keeps on changing, so you won't know as on one particular date what was the figure. So it's always recommended that you use 2B, but it does not mean that you should not use 2A, because as I told you that before 11th you should use 2A, and make sure your all suppliers upload the document in respective GST1, so that you can claim ITC in the same month and you don't have to wait till the next month. So that is how you should use the 2A and 2B. Another question from Sahif, who is asking ITC recon with 2B and books is automatically or manual. So Safik, this is actually automatically, so you can automatically reconcile the 2B and the 2B and books. Other question is from Shailesh, who is asking, our supplier issued invoice pertaining to March 2020 and not yet filed. He filed on Feb 2021, but in 2B it is showing due file after cutoff, not eligible. Okay, so since Shailesh, as I told you, right, like in respect of invoices for March 2020, the maximum you can claim the ITC is till September 2020. And since that person has filed only after September, that was the main reason why it is coming as ineligible in your GSTR 2B. Other question is Gaurav, who is asking if we have claimed all export invoices in 3B. Gaurav, 3B, sorry, in respect of export documents, right? Export may you always go with payment or without payment. So you make the payment, like it's like the kind of a liability. If you choose is okay, I want to use export with payment of IGST, where you pay the taxes first and get the refund. And if you're using without payment, then you don't pay any taxes there. So there is no question of ITC when we talk about the export invoices. Sorry. Other questions from Manoj, who is asking if you are not claiming any ITC of the vendor, say X as per the 2A or 2B, since we have not accepted the invoices are the vendor, do we need to do anything? So if you are not claiming any ITC in that particular case, no, you don't have to do anything. It's just like it's always good that you communicate that to the vendor. If it was your eligible ITC and in future you decide, okay, I want to go ahead and claim the ITC. Other question is, another question from Akshay, who is asking, supplier has issued tax but not uploaded during that financial year. So Akshay, will just suggest you should ask your supplier to upload the document so that you can go ahead and claim the ITC. Another question from Anil, who is asking, April month related invoices vendor uploaded filed on 17th of May appear in 2A and not 2B. Am I eligible to claim it? April. So, Anil, I would say that especially when we talk about the April 2020 return period, it is kind of an exceptional return period where the due dates are already extended. And when we look into 2B, your 2B will not be even available till your cutoff, which is 28, right? So here in that particular case, you can just go ahead and claim the ITC. Another question from Niranjan, who is asking, is it required to upload exempted invoices in GST portal? Yeah, Niranjan, you are required to show the summary for not entire invoices, but you have to show the summary for the exempted supplies or nil rated or non GST supplies in your GSTR 3B as well as in your GSTR 1. Another question from Dinesh who's asking, can I change B2C bill to B2B bill after filing GST1? Yes, Dinesh, you can file an amendment where what you have to do, you have to upload a normal document as a B2B document, and respect of B2C, you have to just reduce the value, reduce the actual value with the same thing, so that you can just nullify the impact of your B2C. Another question is from Arvinda, who is asking, invoicing application applicable on us, and we are generating invoices for B2B as well as SCZ. All invoices of B2B are appearing in GST portal, but SCZ invoices are not appearing. Is it GST department bug or might be at our end? So, Arvinda, is it like you're supplying to an SEZ unit and you're talking about that? And if that's the case, it should get reflected, like it should actually get reflected in your GST1. If it is not, then you have to ask you have to raise a ticket at the GST portal. I guess I have covered most of the query. One query I'm getting from Lata, who is asking for B2B whether turnover is more than 50 crore and invoicing system in HSN summary mandatory. So Lata, okay, so there are two different things. When we talk about e-invoicing, right? E-invoicing is applicable if your total turnover, aggregate turnover is more than 50 crore. And when we talk about HSN summary, so HSN summary we have to report in GST1, right? So HSN summary when we talk about, for that the limit is 5 crore. So these are the two different things. Okay, so Gaurav, I think Gaurav was saying it was EXP was not a export invoice, it was about expense invoice. Okay, Gaurav. So if it is an expense invoice, yes, you can go ahead and claim the ITC in respect of the ITC which you have paid to your supplier. You just have to remember that it is not covered under section 17.5. So if it is not coming over there, you can just go ahead and claim the ITC. Another question is from Murugam, who is asking, and also from Akshay, who is asking in respect of the RCM input. So Murugam and Akshay, like see, for claiming the ITC in respect to the reverse charge transaction, you don't have to be dependent on the supplier. It is just like whenever you have shown or you have paid the liability in the same month, you can also go ahead and claim the ITC. So let's say April, May, you have shown in 3B that this is the RCM liability. In the same month, you can just go ahead and claim the ITC also. It's just like the reversal liability you have to pay out through cash, but the ITC on that you can utilize for paying or discharging your other kind of a liability. Another question from Anand, who is asking, what about ITC on import transaction? So Anand, again, if you have fulfilled all the conditions for section 16, you can just go ahead and claim the ITC on the import transaction. Another question from Vijay, who is asking, how many times can we amend GST1? Vijay, if we just talk about amending GST1, we cannot amend GST1, but we can amend the transactions, the documents which is there in GST1. For example, I want to amend B2B because there was a document, let's say INV1. So I can always amend INV1 in the next month. And the number of time, it is like one time we can do in respect of B2B transaction, and in respect of export, they have allowed multiple times amendments. Another question is from Prasad, who is asking, while generating invoicing, it asks for place of supply. Can you please explain? Prasad, when we talk about place of supply, right, it is the same rule that 10 and 11 in the IGST Act. We have to just use the same rule and accordingly put the place of supply. So usually it is like a customer, because it's a B2B, and most of the time it is the customer ka GST, wherever it's the customer GST, that becomes your place of supply. But there are always exceptions to this. So here you just have to use the place of supply provisions as per section 10 and 11. Other questions from Lata, who is asking, is HSN summary also auto populating in GST1 from GST invoicing portal? No, Lata. Today this HSN summary is not auto computed by the government. Only your B2B section, the corresponding credit debit note per section, and the export policy sections are getting auto populated. Another question from Satish, who is asking, the credit note is issued by me. Can I just show in GSTF1? Yes, Satish, you can just show that in your GSTF1. And I'm assuming that you are a supplier. And if you are a supplier, you have issued the credit note to your recipient, maybe because you have returned the good or maybe for some discounts or something. Yeah, in that particular case, you can just go ahead and show the credit note. So I guess I have covered most of the queries, but still I could see there are a lot other queries also. So if I was not able to give you the answer or you have not received your answer, I will request everyone, please drop a mail to us at gstsupport@thecleartext.in so that I can answer your query over there. So you can just reach out there, and in case you want a demo, so there was a form which was circulated in the chat box, so you can just fill in that form so that our team can reach out to you and give you the demo. So thank you, and hope most of the queries are solved. So thank you very much. So with this, we can close our session. And also one thing, because many of you have asked for the presentation and the recording, if this can be shared. So we will be giving you both the PPT as well as the recording, so that in case you want to just check it again, so you can always do that. Thank you. Thank you very much.